Live, go live. Hello, live. I have so much hair. Not used to it.
Well, since you've let it grow out,
I
it's
know, there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it. And I know it's long because Daisy pulls on it. My friends have been asking how I think it grew so fast.
Yeah.
Daisy yanking on it. My child pulling my hair all the time. That's why it's grown. Let's see. And
yes,
we're live.
And we're live. That's true.
That's us. We're live.
At least because we don't have commercials, we don't get to say, and we're back.
And we're back. No, not presently. We are not back. Just here.
We're just here. Yeah.
Just here. And I apologize for my voice. I have a bad cold. It's finally getting better. Daisy and I both got colds, which is always a good time. Nothing like having a child and having a cold at the same time. Scott and I were my husband and I we're taking care of her downstairs, and she's not happy. We just tried to give her some medicine. I gave me some medicine. We all had some medicine. You know, you just hope. It's terrible because she can't. This is going to sound really silly, but the babies don't know how to blow their noses yet, so she just walks around going. Pfft. You're like, oh God, the joys and chaos of parenthood. Hi, everybody,
and the discoveries.
Yes, also that. Snotty discoveries. I can't believe it, but my daughter is going to be 1 this week on Wednesday. My daughter is going to be 1 year old on Wednesday.
Which, 1 year and 1 week ago.
Yeah.
Our house, our lives.
Yeah.
Were entirely different. Entirely different
in every possible way
than what they are today.
And then this small menace came into play and affected every single one of us completely.
She has turned our lives inside out.
Yes.
And our house upside down.
Upside down house.
And we love her to pieces.
It's amazing that something can make you as crazy as she makes us. You love them more than anything in the entire world. She does. She makes us all crazy because she is a tiny, crazy person. Oh, Lynn's daughter's turning 20 this week. I'm sure. Hey, look, it flies, right? Yes, I got my Beyonce fan. As I say, I'm getting over this cold and feeling particularly terrible and just extra warm. So I'm just going to Beyonce myself and try to cool down. No, look, time flies, doesn't it? It does. And I think it's easy to forget how quickly things go. I think my favorite phrase people keep using is that the days are long, but the years are short. And I think that's very much what it is, is that I don't know how it's been a year. At the same time, it's the longest 365 days ever.
I have a fairly clear memory of your first birthday.
Yeah.
Because we were having a movie night. We were living on Willowcrest Avenue.
Okay. Our old house.
Our old house in Studio City.
Yes.
Near the top of a hill, a fairly steep hill.
Yes.
Which ended in a cul-de-sac. And we were the last house before the cul-de-sac arrangement. That was a good house. It was a nice house.
It was a nice house.
And
not ideal for having a small child because there are many coyotes up there.
Yeah.
And yours truly used to try and walk around to see the coyotes.
Yeah.
So
not ideal either.
It's a good thing to move.
Yeah.
But yes.
But while we were there, we were very happy there.
Yeah.
And we're having a movie night, and during intermission,
more schmutzy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. a cake materialized.
Yes.
And candle.
Yeah.
And friends.
Yeah.
Your surrogate family.
Yes.
The surrogate
I have a
LA
very
family.
large surrogate family. Yes.
And I believe photos were taken.
Probably.
Yes. In fact, I know photos were taken, which I will dig out.
Mercy has a photo of Veronica and I when I was 1 and she was 3.
Oh my.
And it's very, yeah. I'm very, very lucky. My parents created a family for us here. Initially, we were the only ones to move to this coast. I say we, I wasn't born yet. But my parents' families, both of them, were all on the East. And so my mom and dad really made all of their friends, my aunts and uncles, they came to every terrible choir concert, every show. They did all the things that you do, And I think that it's amazing. And I think it teaches you that blood is nice and all, but it's the people who are there for all of the big moments in your life that are your family. And so whether it was, learning to ride a bike or doing any of those sorts of things, I have a very large family. And it's amazing. I do tell people that I was raised in the wild by film critics, because that is very true. I was raised in the wild by film critics, and it is, I don't know anything different. So I've told you guys before, but it was really funny when my husband first came into the picture and met. Now, I've known my husband for a very long time. We met in 2007, but we were friends for years. And when he first came here and met my godmother, godfather, all of our closest friends, and they would ask him about movies. You have to remember, he is what we call a normal person, and so he would say
or
things
as
like,
Friday used to say, a
Yeah.
non-pro.
a non-pro.
Right.
So you say to him, "What'd you think of this movie?" "It was good." "What did you think of the movie?" "It's okay." And that was it. And this left our collective family going, "What?" Because nobody in our circle answers questions like that. They all say these long-winded responses. So he has learned to have a more thorough response, but it always makes us laugh because, yeah, he is very much the kind of person that just, "Did you like the movie?" "Yeah." "Did you like it?" "No." What's your go-to to watch when you're sick/feeling blue movies? Well, when I'm sick, as I am right now, I really just want something that I can fall asleep in the middle of and not miss anything. So usually it's stuff I've just watched repeatedly. I'll binge a show again.
So give them some, for instance.
Well, I'm trying to think of any sort of like the stuff that, to be honest with you, it's all. This Is the End is a great terrible movie. It's not terrible. It's just ridiculous. That's one we have on a lot. Waiting. Really, you say anything that's mindless and just sort of easy. Yeah, A Place in the Sun. Like I said, mindless, easy. Yeah. No, it's like, look, my parents have TCM on most of the time, whether we're paying attention or not. It's just on. And, you put it on, it makes you happy for the most part. Although something was on the other day and mommy went, "Nope." It was something serious, and she and I were just too tired. Yeah, comfort movie. Well, again, this is what's so interesting, right? We have this conversation a lot. People, for some reason, look down upon comfort movies slash popcorn movies. So you just saw the new George Clooney, Julia Roberts film.
Yeah, called Ticket to Paradise. It opened Friday in theaters, real movie theaters.
Yeah.
Are showing it.
And
well, I enjoyed it. I had a good time. And it gave me what I expected it to give me.
Yeah.
Which is my yardstick for a good movie or a successful movie.
Yeah.
I expected a lightweight vehicle for these two attractive stars.
Yep.
And amidst beautiful scenery, because it takes place in Bali.
Yeah.
And they shot it in Bali and in Gold Coast of Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's great to look at.
Yep.
And is it predictable? Sure.
Did you have a good time?
Yep.
It was enjoyable for you.
Yep.
It was what you hoped and expected.
Yep. Ticket to Paradise. There you are.
And that's it, is that you got what you wanted.
Yep.
And that's okay. And for them, I saw some people saying, why would they make this kind of a movie? Probably because they wanted to work together. It was something fun that they could do. Again, shot in beautiful locations. Why wouldn't you? It's not like either of them has to prove anything, right?
Yeah.
They've gotten to a place where neither one of them has to prove
George
to you.
And his producing partner, Grant Heslov, produced it.
Yeah.
For George's Smokehouse production company, named after
the restaurant
here in Burbank, across the street from
Warner Brothers,
where he worked so many years on ER.
Yeah. But so this is the thing, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with watching a movie and enjoying it and having it be simple. At the same time, it's great to watch stuff that's challenging.
Yeah.
That's nice too, but it's just not always necessary.
All right. Well, all right. Now, with that as my lead-in,
Yes.
a documentary dropped on
Plopped.
Friday called, and I think it's in a couple of theaters, called Descendant, made by Margaret Brown, with whom I'm very slightly acquainted, because if you triangulate us, the other part of the triangle is my oldest friend, Lewis Black.
I think it was his birthday yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Well, he's credited as associate producer on this, and the story that she tells is that they had breakfast together. He's helped finance some of her other very good documentaries.
Yeah.
She's originally from Mobile, Alabama, and has returned there to make several interesting films. One about the fact that I didn't know this, and I guess many people didn't, that Mobile has a robust and long-running Mardi Gras tradition.
Well, the first movie though that when you were talking about her that I remembered seeing was that yes, Descendant. The Descendant is the title. Descendant. Yeah. The first film that came to mind for me though when you first talked about her was that she did a documentary about the fact that Mobile still has segregated prom.
Yep.
Still has segregated proms, and that they fought to have a prom that was not segregated, and a lot of the parents were against it. Mm-hmm. Which it just sort of blows your mind. And didn't Morgan Freeman pay for the prom?
No, I think
no. Because there was a whole thing about it. I'll look it up. There was a whole thing about it that he was going to pay for the not segregated prom. But yes, I'm sorry. Continue.
Anyway, this is about a discovery or a search for the last slave ship to bring enslaved Africans to the United States. And I believe 1865. It was against the law, but this one last ship called the Clotilda made it through, and apparently was deliberately sunk afterwards to hide the evidence. Mm-hmm. Well, there was a lot of human evidence left over, obviously.
Yeah.
And those people live in something called Africatown, a specific neighborhood or region of Mobile. And the story gets more complicated as you go from there. But Margaret was telling Lewis that they just found the sunken slave ship. And he said, well, why are we sitting here having breakfast? Why aren't you making this movie? Mm-hmm. And that's what she did. And it came to the attention of Barack and Michelle Obama, who are executive producers, and Participant Media, which backs, films of social significance.
The Great Invisible was the film that we really enjoyed, that she not enjoyed. It was about the Deepwater Horizon oil rig. That was in 2014. I can't believe it was that long ago already.
Yeah,
that was 2014. A fantastic document, depressing as hell, but fantastic.
And that's one that we saw at South by Southwest.
Exactly,
right,
exactly.
In Austin.
And that was so good.
Anyway, it's called Descendant, and it's really, really interesting. And if you've ever questioned, as I have, the notion of reparations for something that happened a long time ago, this film may just either change your mind or open your mind. Perhaps that's a better way to put it.
Yeah. Okay. She didn't do that doc. So when I was talking to you about the prom thing and you thought that was hers, that wasn't one of hers. But I'm correct. Morgan Freeman offered to finance the prom if it was not segregated. That was happening in Mississippi.
And that's in Mississippi. That's not in Mobile.
No. I know. But that's why I was thinking about it. Okay. That's why I was trying to remember the whole thing. Got it. Yeah.
While you have that,
yes,
look up Olympic Auditorium.
Yes, they just watched another documentary. I watched a really good documentary that's going to be on Amazon soon called Wildcat. And you say Olympic
Auditorium.
And it is a beautiful documentary, really difficult in ways I wasn't expecting, but beautiful. And let's see, Grand Olympic. Let's see. probably a better chance looking in your email to
No,
figure out what
you
it's
got,
called.
but you got it.
Documentary.
Just type in the name Eileen.
Eileen.
Can't remember her last name.
18th and Grand, the Olympic
Yeah,
Auditorium
yeah.
story.
Yep.
There you go. 18th and Grand, the Olympic Auditorium story. So that's something that you watched. That was anyway. So just to tell you a little bit about Wildcat. Wildcat is the only reason I knew about it was because it was in Telluride, and its lead. Again, I didn't read anything about the film, but the guy I knew was in it. This fellow named Harry Turner. I met him in Telluride, and he was so sweet. He was just lovely, and he played with Daisy, and I just thought, what a nice man. I'm really happy to see whatever it is he's doing. And then his publicist reached out because they would like us to interview him for the film. So I watched the documentary last night, and I thought that I said I didn't know what to expect. It's heartbreaking, and it's really beautiful, and it's really well done. As I say, it's going to be on Amazon soon, but I'm figuring out now when we're going to get to interview him. But keep that one in mind, Wildcat on Amazon.
The other one I want to talk about briefly is 18th and Grand, the Olympic Auditorium story. And you look up the woman's name.
Okay.
Now, my wife and I moved here to Los Angeles in 1983. So we came just as this era was coming to a close. But at one time, the Olympic Auditorium downtown.
Director Stephen Dubrow.
Right. But it deals with Eileen Eaton.
There you go.
Eileen Eaton was the only woman in the United States of America who was a licensed boxing promoter. She's even on What's My Line, and that was her.
That's funny. That's funny.
That's why they had her on. She's the only woman doing that job. She presided over this 10,000 seat auditorium, which they referred to as Madison Square Garden West. She was involved in the early stages of Muhammad Ali's career when he was still Cassius Clay. She put in roller derby when that became a thing, especially here on the West Coast. It's a really interesting slice of LA history that I knew nothing of, and my wife and I both knew nothing of. And the wrestling era, when Gorgeous George came along, and all these other performers, let's call them, and up to Rowdy Piper, people like that.
I like hearing you say Rowdy Piper. This is not a name I would imagine
he's interviewed
from your lips. So he's, Scott loves him. Scott loves all that stuff.
Really?
Oh, yeah. My husband loves all that stuff. He paid attention to the wrestlers when he was younger, and he's a big fan.
Well, anyway, it's now a church. It's now an Asian church.
What else would it be?
And it lost its marquee, and they used to have it was called the Olympic Auditorium because it opened for the 1932 Olympic Games here in Los Angeles. That's when they built the Coliseum as well, and the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. So, a lot happened, as with anywhere. And that's when a lot happens with Olympics. A lot of stuff is built for the Olympics.
And that's when 10th Boulevard became
Olympic Boulevard. Yeah. It's stuff like that. When you travel to different places, look up and see if they had the Olympics there. Funny thing that I learned is that in Australia, in Sydney specifically, they have the signs that say look left, look right to tell you which way to look because traffic is different. They put those there because of the Olympics. They painted that because of all the tourists. They were worried people were going to kill themselves. And this has been true in other places, that a lot of spots that now say when you are going to cross a street, look left, look right to let you know, it's because they've held the Olympics there before and they didn't want people to walk into traffic. So,
well, the Olympic Auditorium documentary apparently was going to, they had sold out their premiere screening at the Cinerama Dome on Sunset Boulevard in March of 2020. So that screening never took place. And they're trying to make up for lost time now. And so it's going to start to appear on your radar, either on cable or streaming, or maybe even, if you're lucky, in a theater near you. And I recommend it.
Sorry, just going to go. Oh, Ravishing Ronald. Yes. Oh, there's so many good names for these. Random question. Since Glynis Johns just celebrated her 97th birthday, did you ever interview her? And there doesn't seem to be a good biography book on her anywhere. I've always loved her, especially in The Court Jester. Almost more funny than Mary Poppins.
Almost more than Mary Poppins, not more funny.
Oh, sorry. Cold medicine mixed with lack of sleep. Let's go.
I'm a huge Glynis Johns fan.
Yeah. Who isn't? She's
And,
fantastic.
Well, that voice would captivate anybody.
Mm.
And she's in 2 of the Walt Disney swashbucklers that were made in England in the early 50s. Rob Roy, the Highland Rogue, and The Sword and the Rose.
Yeah. Quick fun fact, if you didn't know, her song in Mary Poppins was not supposed to be her song. But that's how they got her to be in the movie, is they said, of course you have a song. The Sherman Brothers tell it well, which is basically that they said, well, does she have a song? And Walt said, yeah, of course the boys have written her a song. And so they took a different one. So
like that weekend.
They changed. It was supposed to be, instead of her song, it was supposed to go practically perfect in every way. And they had to rewrite that song to be able to give this one to her so she could sing Sister Suffragettes. Ta-da.
She played a mermaid in a film called Miranda, British film in the late 40s. It was so popular, they made a sequel.
Another great Glynis Johns movie, The Ref.
Well, she's wonderful in everything.
She is. She really is.
And I scored points with her. I never did a formal interview with her, but I got to meet her on several occasions.
Yeah.
And I scored points by sending her a copy of, I think it was The Invaders, the Powell Pressburger film from 1941, in which her father, Mervyn Johns, wonderful character actor, had a really significant role.
Mm-hmm.
And she just was very grateful. And I was happy to do it.
Hello, you two. Hello. Unfortunately, I missed your last shows. Did you talk about Janice Page's 100th birthday on September 19th? September 19th is actually my mom's birthday. I like her a lot, and she's a great and underrated actress.
I like her a lot, too. I always have. I grew up seeing her on variety shows. After her Broadway stint in The Pajama Game, she got booked on lots and lots of variety television shows. And that's how I knew her, as a singing performer. And only later did I see some of her movie work. And I did read her self-published autobiography, which is very interesting. She wrote it in her 99th year, I think, 98th year, perhaps. Worth a look. Look on Amazon, and it's not an inexpensive book. But if you're at all interested in her,
you can always check your library too. You never know.
Her mother was a stage mother. They came down to Los Angeles together, and she sang at the Hollywood Canteen, I think.
There's a canteen. She sang at it. I went there.
She got signed to a 6-month contract by MGM with no screen experience, and they did nothing with her. On the last day of the 6th month, when she was getting ready to physically leave the studio plant, her agent made a call to the casting person at Warner Brothers in Burbank. And that person said, bring her over right now. Drove a considerable distance from Culver City to Burbank and into the casting director's office. He looked her over. She was, I think, 18 or 19. And he walked her over to the stage on the lot where Delmer Daves was shooting the movie Hollywood Canteen. And he cast her on the spot and signed her to a 5-year contract.
Amazing.
And then, and she tells all this really well, when that contract was up, crickets were chirping. And she didn't know what hit her.
Yeah.
Because for 5 years she'd been pampered, not just pampered, but she didn't have to think.
Yeah.
Everything was done for her by the studio.
Yeah.
And she said, well, what do I do now?
Yeah. It's kind of like what they did to Danny. It's kind of similar to that. I have a dear friend who won a contest in the UK. You know, they do those contests for people who are going to be the leads in different West End shows. And some years ago now, our friend won Dorothy, and she played Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz on the West End. And she was like, I think she was 17 when she was on the show, something like that. And she gets moved down. She doesn't pay rent for her apartment, gets moved into this lovely apartment in London. So imagine you don't have to pay rent in London, huge on its own. She's making money, and she's never made that kind of money. You know, as a young person, you can make $100 a week and feel like the richest person in the world, you know, because you don't understand bills yet and all the rest of it. And when the year ended, nobody had taught her or any of the other girls who were on the show what to do. And so she continued getting roles, but she wasn't taught about how to invest money or how to save or how to do anything.
Yeah.
And this is something you hear a lot, you know, from people who become famous at a young age if they don't have the right people supporting them. She found herself sort of in a grown-up role, having money and living on her own in London, but without any of the education that was needed.
Yeah.
And it took her years to fix some of the things that were broken from that. Amazing woman, but yeah, that's about. It's sort of like people discovering. It's like when people learn about all the things that happened to Judy Garland when she was young, and you realize if you don't have the right people around you, that's why things can go so wrong. Because if no one's there to teach you, how are you supposed to learn? You know, really. Right. Oh, who's your favorite Zorro? I feel like that's not a contest. I feel like there's only one.
Well, there's more than one.
I know, but
I mean, no,
there's
but
only
for
one.
real, well, yes, Guy Williams was a perfect Zorro. That is a complete. That's a complete sentence.
Find me more handsome, charming, Guy Williams all day long. Guy
perfect
Williams.
Zorro.
Yeah.
But so was Doug Fairbanks, and so was Tyrone Power. Yeah. To name a few. To name the other guys.
Again, I think it's sort of the thing of. I think it's sort of the thing of who you see first. You know, we've talked about that with like, who's your Batman, who's your Superman. It's whoever you see first. And for me, I saw Guy Williams, and there's just nothing better, you know, for me. But that's because that's who I picture in my head. Who do you picture?
Well, I must admit, Guy Williams.
Yeah, Williams is who you see. What about you guys? Who's your Zorro? I feel like it's whoever you see first. That's the one that stays.
Oh, is Disney Plus running Zorro?
They just started. They just started.
Oh, I'm very glad to know that.
Oh, good. Ben says that he just read Susan Marks's memoir on your recommendation, and it was very charming.
I'm glad you thought so.
Ryan's asking, did you ever get to meet Guy Williams? I know you met his son when you did the amazing Walt Disney Treasures set. Did you ever meet Guy Williams?
No, sorry to say. And he lived his final years down in Argentina.
Yeah. You can find some fantastic photos of him at Disneyland, though. Like some great photos with his son at Disneyland. And they're not posed, and he just looks about as gorgeous as possible. So Antonio Banderas, for Kent is saying Antonio Banderas. I get that. And I think he's probably a good Zorro. Again, he's not my Zorro. But it's... But don't you think really? Because again, if you close your eyes, that's how I try to tell people to do it. Close your eyes, and if I say Batman, who do you see? If I say Superman, who do you see? And this is true of, you know, lots of these different sort of characters that are known forever. You just, you know, you close your eyes, and it's who you picture immediately. And that's why my Superman is my Superman and yours is yours. Someone earlier was asking about Indiana Jones, if there's that next one coming out again.
Yes.
You know, I don't know who would be Indiana Jones other than
Harrison Ford.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'm sure there are people who'd be very good at it. You know, I don't think that would be, did I see Zorro back when Disney Channel used to air it? Yeah, I did. When they
on Walt Disney.
Yeah, which was the best. And I don't know why it's not there anymore, because they should have kept it. It also had a great intro. I was talking about that intro because that was wonderful. Yeah, I did. I watched Zorro on TV. So good. Just so good. Yeah. So Victoria, Adam West. Exactly. But that's what I mean. It's whoever, I promise you, it's whoever you see in your head. It's whoever you close your eyes. And if I say James Bond, You know, for me, James Bond is always going to be Sean Connery. It just is. And that doesn't necessarily mean he's the best or better than someone. It's just in my head, that's who that is. And all of us, I think it's one of those things you don't think about. You just sort of, as I say, somewhere in the back of your mind, you know who fits the role. You know, that's why it'll be interesting in some years when they start to recast Avengers and whatnot, because inevitably there will be reboots. It'll be interesting then to see who they find.
Speaking of reboots, let me recommend that new show, Reboot.
You like that new show? You and me both like it.
Oh, we're having such fun watching.
I'm so glad.
So, created by Stephen Levitan, the co-creator of Modern Family, and it's a very funny show with Paul Reiser, Rachel Bloom, Johnny Knoxville, Keegan-Michael Key,
Yep.
Judy Greer,
Yep.
and some wonderful character actors in support, including our friend Lawrence Pressman, and who's playing the beleaguered director of a TV sitcom. And he's always good, and he is very good here.
I like it. Reboot is great. Yes, I agree with you. My childhood hero is Jim Cummings, the voice of Winnie the Pooh. Jim Cummings, let me tell you, there are a number of these voice actors who really understand what they mean to you. And when they do those voices, they understand the effect that it has. And so the first time I met Jim Cummings years ago, and he saw me, immediately went into that, immediately started doing the voices for me. And it's what he does to everybody. It's the same, like Bill Farmer is the best Goofy ever because he loves doing it and he loves seeing the reaction. And that's such a beautiful thing, to understand who you are and to understand what you mean to people and to give them exactly that.
And the irony is that, of course, he did not create that character or that.
No, but
Sterling Holloway, of beloved memory.
Yes, Rob Paulson does an amazing live show. He does. Rob Paulson is the same kind of thing. Rob Paulson gets it, and he loves doing the voices, and he loves seeing the reactions. He loves seeing you giggle and freak out and smile and laugh. Mark, we talked about the George Clooney movie already, so that's why we're not going to go over it again. But yeah, Rob Paulson does a beautiful job with that. That's a great time, really. I'd say I have a great respect for them because they, as I say, they know, and watching them react is the best. Like, seeing them, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They know full well what they're doing when they do it, when they start doing those voices, and people like me just melt onto the floor because it's your whole childhood.
You're watching, you came to say hello in our bedroom with Daisy, and we were watching something on TCM. Oh, we were watching Friendly Persuasion.
Yes.
And there's a featured sequence with Marjorie Main. And I told Jesse, because Jesse knew June Foray. And
I love June.
And when I met
June a lot.
When I met June, got to know her a little bit, she referred to a particular voice she did, kind of a scratchy old woman's voice, as her Marjorie Main voice. And
when you hear Marjorie Main, it sounds like June Foray's old lady voice. So it all makes sense.
Yep.
It all goes together quite nicely. Oh, man. Kevin's saying, I always found it interesting that Sterling Holloway introduced the song Manhattan on Broadway.
Well, he had quite a career on Broadway. And then, he was brought out here. And how many Disney films is he doing the voice? 7? I think he's the stork in Dumbo. He's the narrator of Peter and the Wolf. He's Kaa in the Jungle Book, singing "Trust in Me," and then he's Winnie the Pooh in the first several Pooh movies. That the studio did, including the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland. He's the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. I may be forgetting one. And someone
next thing, he's the adult flower in Bambi.
Good one.
If you can't say something nice. We need Ben and Me on Disney Plus. Sterling Holloway. Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so much. They have such a library they need to really dig into.
I like Ben and Me.
1 second. Anthro says, I grew up seeing you host various shows on the Disney animated films I loved when I was young. You were my gateway into film appreciation. Much respect.
Thank you very much. That's
you.
a very meaningful compliment. I appreciate it very, very much.
I've asked my dad that before, if it's ever, because I know sometimes I'll say something to someone and you can see that they don't quite know what to reply. And I realize it from my dad. It's the same thing. If someone says, I've watched you my whole life, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, you know. Someone saying, you know, you're the reason I love movies, or you're the reason I do this and that. It's a lot. Because, you know, the reaction you have to certain people that you meet, if you have watched them on TV or you've seen them on stage, whatever it is, if you've grown up loving them, you have a connection. You know, they're very much connected to you in a special way. And yeah, it's always going to be there. I've told you before that people ask, you know, who we're starstruck by. The truth is, it's whoever you grew up with. However much you like someone else, if you see somebody that you grew up with, you lose your mind because it's just a different part of you. Again, that's why when you meet someone like Jim Cummings and he does a Winnie the Pooh voice and you just melt on the floor because it's such a huge part of your childhood. It's a big part of you. And that means so much. Someone asked before if you'd seen Till yet. And
yes, I got to show it to my class at USC on Thursday night.
Yep.
And I was knocked out. And I'm going to try to remember everybody's name.
Yeah.
Danielle.
You want help?
No.
Okay, just kidding.
Danielle.
Just bring it up just in case.
Deadweiler. Danielle Deadweiler plays Marie Till Bradley, as she eventually became.
Yep.
And she is magnificent. And,
Frankie Faison's in it. I should have assumed he's in everything.
But this is an actress that we've all seen because she's worked.
Yeah.
She's a theater actress primarily, but done television and movies. And we've seen her, but this is going to change her career. And we're all going to know her name well. If there's any justice in this world, it's a majestic performance as the mother of Emmett Till, and the director, Chinonye Chukwu made a film with Alfre Woodard several years ago called Clemency. And that's what gave her, that's what opened the door for her. And she co-wrote the screenplay. There are 3 people credited, including her. I suspect there was a screenplay and she did a rewrite. But she had very specific ideas of how she wanted to tell this story without showing the violence, without depicting the horrifying things that
happened. Yeah.
That happened to Emmett Till, 14-year-old Emmett Till in Mississippi. But the impact is still there. It's so well told. It's about transcending that violence, transcending that unthinkable deed, and robbing a loving mother of her son. But she turns that tragedy into a life of dedication to civil rights.
Yeah. She's in real life, she was an amazing woman. And your response to the film really made me happy. I didn't know what to expect because it's such a difficult story, but so important. And so I'm really happy that you not only liked it, but that it worked.
It's not like taking medicine watching this movie.
Yeah.
It's not, something that's good for you that you don't really want to do.
Yeah.
It's just really good.
Yeah. So go see Till. Is it open?
It's open in theaters, a handful of theaters.
And then going to go wider.
Friday, going wider next Friday, the
Sure.
28th.
Hey, Leonard and Jesse. Hi. Leonard, I'm listening to Starstruck again, and it's just as great the third time around. My son Hugo and I can listen to you and Jesse all day. We love the streams and podcasts. Thank you, Catherine.
Well,
thank you so much.
Aren't you nice? Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Appreciate it. Ludwig says, have you ever met Jim Henson, and what did you think of his life's work? I watch Fraggle Rock with my children. Clara is 7 and Linus is 5, and they love it. Great names. You did meet Jim Henson.
I did get to meet Jim Henson more than once. And somewhere there's a roll of film of me and Jim and Kermit that got misplaced.
That's
anyway.
No, you've had several incredible encounters with him. You had several, and then since then, with the Henson family and different things that have come around.
Yeah. Well, he was, he was a special person. He was a one-off, as they say.
Yeah.
There isn't another person like him.
In case you didn't know, just to share, he died very fast. Not unlike Walt Disney, but faster because Walt they knew was sick for. But you know what I mean? No one's ever prepared, right? But with Jim Henson, it was a sort of thing where it's like on a Monday he had a cold, and by Friday he was dead. It was.
I think it was even faster than that.
I know. I know.
Yeah. It was a virulent pneumonia.
Yeah, and it kicked and was bad, and he died, and people were just in shock because he wasn't very old,
and he wasn't in bad health.
No, and so it was one of those things that had a really serious effect because first of all, he's beloved, right, and everything he created. But also just the shock of it. I will make you tell it because I love it so much that when you got to do the obit, if you don't know what an obit is, it's the obituary. And many older folks have obits that are ready and on shelves that get added to. So someone like Bob Hope had 20 years of obituary footage by the time he actually died because you want to be ready.
Every major newspaper or news reporting service has ready-made obituaries for older folks, and like say the late Angela Lansbury.
Exactly. Yeah. When you find out that she's gone, you have certain things prepped, and then you add to it, but you have things prepped.
Right. And that was my job at Entertainment Tonight.
We call him Dr. Death.
And I did what we called shelf obits.
Yeah.
Because we finished them in those days on tape, on physical videotape, and put them on the shelf. And every time I did that, we never got to use a lot of them. Yeah. It took years to use them up. But we were not prepared, nor was anyone else, for Jim Henson. But he died the same day as Sammy Davis Jr. So I was running 2 edit bays, darting back and forth, trying to do justice in the best way I possibly could to 2 people I really cared about. And it was a challenging
Was Sammy
day.
sick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, he was.
He was so tiny.
Yeah, he had some form of cancer.
Okay.
I believe he had some form of cancer. Yeah. And I wanted to end the Jim Henson one with the end of the Muppet movie where they're singing the Rainbow Connection, but it's a long, long pullout of all the Muppets in a packed auditorium or theater, and they said, "Got to cut 10 seconds. Got to cut 10. You can't cut in the middle of a song."
You fought for it, and you got it. It happened. He fought, and he said, "You can't cut off Rainbow Connection. You can't cut this off. It's too important." So yeah, you got it. Nowadays, it would never have happened, but you would have had to load it to your TikTok. But you were able to do it then. You fought for it, and you made it happen then, which I think is really important and special because that's the thing about the obit is. I think that, and this is also, of course, why we all get so angry during the Oscars when they inevitably screw up the in memoriam section, because this is the last big moment for someone. And if you're not the world's biggest name, even if you are, frankly, sometimes they still screw it up. You really want it there. And everybody deserves to have a moment. Everyone deserves to have their moment. And as I say, that's why I think we all get so annoyed when they don't do it right, because we really want them to. I think that's the dream, isn't it? Is that everybody should be honored in a way that they know how important they were, and that their loved ones have a moment as well. Their loved ones get to have a moment and say, there they are. There's tons of people are mentioning all the different Bob Hope. Yeah, Bob Hope died about 40 times before Bob Hope died. That was a tricky
That was
one,
a great story.
Where he was reading it at the, yes.
He was at his breakfast table. We lived, as we told our friends back east, we lived Bob Hope adjacent.
Bob Hope adjacent. Our old house was right by Bob Hope.
He lived in Toluca Lake for 40 some years, maybe more than that. And I asked him how he happened to move there. Well, Bing had moved there first. Bing Crosby had moved there first.
It's good enough for Bing Crosby.
And he rented a house. He and Dolores rented a house from the animator Walter Lantz on the lake. There is a lake in Toluca Lake, but it's only visible to members of the Lakeside Golf Club and 36 homeowners.
Mm-hmm.
And Walter Lantz was one of them, and he was living there. And then one day he was driving on Moore Park Street, and he saw two adjacent lots for sale for $10,000 each. This was in 1950. And he bought one of them right away. And then he thought about it for a day or two and called his lawyer and said, buy the other lot. And he said, no, it's already been sold. Well, pay him whatever. Had to pay $50,000 to get that second lot. And they put in two holes of the golf course in the back.
Yeah, it was a nice house, I'll tell you. And I will say Halloween. I want to tell you, Halloween in Toluca Lake, it's legendary. But he and Dolores used to come out. Not only did they give out personalized little toys or trinkets for Halloween, you should find those for next week so we can show everybody. They gave away great stuff, but also they would come out and take pictures with people, and it was really lovely. That was great. Oh, Lynn says, I just want to thank you both for being a breath of fresh air on the internet. Things are crazy out in the world right now. This hour gives me peace. I'm so glad, Lynn. Today has been a bit of a stress ball for a whole heap of reasons this weekend, really. Trying
if we can serve as an antidote in any way, we're happy to do that.
James says, hi from Australia. Question for Leonard. Did you ever get to meet Tex Avery?
No, darn it. No, and I met most of his colleagues.
Yeah, you did.
I spoke to him once on the phone because I was the midwife for Joe Adamson's book, Tex Avery, King of Cartoons. And there was a thorny issue that had to be resolved. And that's what got me on the phone with Tex. I wish it was just a call where we would just talk
hanging out
about his career. Yeah.
But it's better than nothing.
It is.
It's better than nothing. One second. Last Monday, I was delighted to finally see the original Invasions of the Body Snatchers on the big screen for the first time. Leonard, did you see it for the first time on TV, or perhaps as the bottom half of a double feature?
And did I ever get to?
And did you ever get to
talk to director Don Siegel?
Yes.
Yes, I would answer the second part first.
Yes.
I interviewed Don Siegel on stage at the Telluride Film Festival. I think it was before showing of Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1956. And I think I saw it for the first time in a Revival theater in New York City. I can't remember that too specifically, but so it always was a potent film to me. And then later years, I realized I worked for some pods. If you know the film, you'll know what that reference means. And I would never call them that to their face. I wanted to keep my job, but I did work for some pods, no question about it. I actually have never seen Phil Kaufman's remake with Donald Sutherland. I guess I should, but I never have.
No time like the present.
Don Siegel, at least in public, said that he never saw it as a parable about communism and the communist witch hunt in Hollywood.
Interesting.
Whether that's 100% true or not, I can't say. But that's what he said during that interview. The next morning, I had breakfast with Don. I have to name drop now. here I am. I'm going to do it. I had breakfast in Telluride with Don Siegel, British director Lindsay Anderson, and William K. Everson, my hero, great film historian, teacher, and author. I've got pictures to prove it. Don Siegel had a very dry sense of humor. I talked to him several times, and he was a character, but the good kind of character. He shot the montages in Casablanca. That was his job at Warner Brothers for a while, was shooting montage sequences for Blues in the Night, a number of films. And so his credits are more wide-ranging than you might suspect.
Hey, Trevor. So I will say, everybody just out loud in your homes, wish Trevor's son, Trenton, a happy first birthday.
Okay,
Trenton has been in and out of the hospital, poor kid, but he's officially 1 year old today. And I love that our kids' birthdays are so close together, Trevor. That's awesome. And I hope that he is celebrating. We don't have, people always ask around holiday times what our movie traditions are. We don't have any movie traditions, is the truth. We just don't, because normally, so in December, my dad's usually catching up on all of the films that are going to be up for awards, trying to play catch up because there's so many of them. In January, it's the same. So like around New Year's, same thing. We're watching all this new stuff. For things, I mean, all the other holiday, like we just don't, we're always watching something else. I don't know. We've never had, apparently you ruined my childhood because we don't have any movies that we watch on holidays. Yeah, I don't know. We just don't. But yeah.
Show and tell time. It would have been fun to be a theater owner, I would say.
Yes. Not now.
Not now.
But before.
It'd be lonely. A lonely existence now.
Quiet time.
Though I live in hope that people will start going back to the movies and that things will, the new normal will take shape. Anyway, Columbia Pictures did not own a chain of theaters. So I guess that's why they gave away souvenirs to theater owners to grease the wheels and get them interested in booking Columbia Pictures. Like, for instance, booking Buck Jones Westerns. This is an elaborate, to say the least, an elaborate brass ashtray.
And it's heavy. Hi, Earnshaws. The Maltins love you back. I can't believe we finally get to go back to the UK at the end of November. And I'm so happy because I haven't been home in such a long time. And we're doing an event there, and we're going to get to, finally, Daisy's going to get to meet all of her family in the UK. And I could not be more excited. I'm absolutely over the moon thrilled because it's been so long. It's been so long thanks to COVID and everything else. So Daisy has not yet met any of her family in the UK.
That's right.
And except that my mother-in-law came out last December. So she met Daisy when Daisy was just tiny. But Daisy hasn't met her cousins, her aunts, her uncles, nobody on that side of the family. So I'm just beyond thrilled to be able to go back there. I'm working on an event, actually. I'm working with the Ukrainian government, obviously. And I'll tell you guys more about that. I have to make a video about it, but I will tell you more about it next week because it's actually really incredible. Yeah, exciting stuff.
If you were a manager or not to cut off or ignore what Jessie is saying, what she's working on is something very significant.
Yeah.
We hope will be significant.
Hey, if it raises anything like what it's hopefully going to, then yeah.
If you were an exhibitor who owned or managed a Lowe's theater, for instance, which played all the MGM studio product, not just the features, but their newsreel, their shorts, their cartoons, and you might be able to come out to the sales convention at the studio, as somebody did in May of 1937,
I love this.
and have this as your
Metro Golden Mare 12th Annual Sales Convention at the studio, May 2nd through 7th, 1937.
And there's Leo, the lion, Mrs. Leo,
Mrs. Leo, and Leo Jr.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Kathy says, love show and tell. You brighten my Sunday afternoons and have become a watch while making dinner tradition. I'm telling my friends about the podcast. Thank you so much, Kathy. We appreciate it. We really, really do. We haven't been able to record new shows because there haven't been people, which sounds really ridiculous, but
well, also there's been some logistical issues.
Yeah, but a number of you asked about my mom. My mom's knee surgery went well, thank goodness.
She had knee replacement surgery.
She's healing. She's not happy, but she's healing. Poor thing is in pain, but she's doing really well, and it's been
her her home physical therapist,
who is adorable,
says she's doing very, very well.
This adorable young man comes in and helps her with therapy, and I said, Mom, you can't complain. She's doing really well. She really, really is. She's just in pain.
And her surgery was performed by robots.
And her surgery was performed by robots.
Under the supervision, of course.
Of a human, but mostly by robots. But yeah, so that was, so she's a little more than a week out. And they say for the first 2 weeks is a lot of pain, but then hopefully it starts to get better. So we cross our fingers. One of the big things here was that Daisy does not understand why she can't climb on Grandma like she normally does. But even that, like, she's been amazing. Mommy's done really well with the healing. Her leg's good.
Yeah.
So finger crossed that, she continues to mend and that this works, because nobody should be in pain. And so many people we know have had a hip replacement, knee replacement. So fingers crossed she starts to feel better soon.
Number of people we know who use this doctor. And recommended this doctor.
His name is Snibbe, and I refuse to believe it's real.
Knibbe. Jason Knibbe.
Snibbe.
Snibbe.
Not Knibbe, it's Snibbe. Snibbe. What did you even spell?
I don't know.
I don't know. So Snibbe.
The mind is a wonderful, mysterious thing.
It's been between me and Daisy being sick, my mom having her knee replacement, and everything just being chaos. It's been a funny couple of days around here. But we are going to be recording an episode of the podcast focused on all of the Halloween's most important characters. Craig says, Guy Kibbe did Alice's surgery? No, he sure didn't.
If only.
We're going to be talking about Bela Lugosi, and because my dad loves the original Universal monsters. So talking about them and Boris Karloff, all those sorts of folks, because it's fascinating stories to me. And of course, the fact that they became really visually what everything else is based on, which should sound obvious, but it's just amazing that even all these years later, that's the go-to.
Yes, and their voices as well.
Absolutely.
Why does every vampire have some sort of mid to Eastern European accent?
Yeah,
because Bela Lugosi was Hungarian.
Yeah, exactly. I do love it because Bela Lugosi was Hungarian. Why do they all sound like that? Because the guy was Hungarian. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
All these sorts of things. As I say, in a time when people are so obsessed with new, isn't it amazing that certain things stick? And those Universal monsters and what's his name's portraits of them.
Basil Gogos.
Portraits of them are the go-to. People recognize, though, they don't realize that someone painted them. They just feel like that's what that looks like all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, he did the covers for Faria Ackerman's famous Monsters of Filmland magazine.
Yeah.
And those are that's the gold standard.
Yeah.
If you're going to.
So again, everybody does. Jackie says, you should host TCM. Yes, he should. Yes, he sure should. I'll walk away quietly. What are you gonna do?
That's not true.
Never in my life. Anyway, but yes, we will see you next week, my friends. Next Sunday. Do you have anything else to show, or were those your two?
No,
pieces?
That was it. Those were my two pieces for today.
P.S. Daisy managed to get him down the other day.
Oh, really?
Which was hilarious, because then he did what he does down. like he worked for a second and got all the way down. The toys in this house that all belong to my father, mind you, they're not my toys. Trying to explain to an almost 1-year-old that those are grandpa's toys. It's not going well.
When I met
Not
Walter
going well.
Lance in 1977,
Mm-hmm.
I told him how much I loved that toy. And he not the first time he'd been told that.
Yeah.
It was a very successful toy because it was Woody doing what he's supposed to be doing as a woodpecker.
Yeah. Except he doesn't work
Except
anymore.
it doesn't work anymore. Yeah.
How long has it not worked? Because he's supposed to, if someone can figure it out. So the way he used to work when I was a kid is he pecked. He pecked all the way down. Now he just sort of screeches.
Well, there's got to be a way to just bend it slightly.
Yeah, that's what, he did it for a second.
Yeah.
That's what he's supposed to do. That's what he's supposed to do. Good job, buddy. You made it. Anyway, guys, be safe, be well. We will see you next Sunday. There too with podcast episodes. If there's anything that you want to hear about or want to learn about, you can always send us messages and let us know. Same thing with show and tell. If there's stuff of my dad's you want to see, just tell us. Let us know, and we're happy to find it for you. So everybody take care, and we'll see you next week.
And be kind.
Be kind.